Welcome to the 365 Days of Narrating All Bible Stories podcast. Day 7 features narratives on Genesis 13, Genesis 14, and Matthew 7. To follow along, read in advance, or confirm our chapter-by-chapter narratives, please use the download link of our 365-day Bible reading planner available in our video description or the first pinned comment. Let's dive in. Genesis 13, Abram and Lot Conflict. Abram and Lot, his nephew, had grown wealthy with abundant livestock, herds, and tents. As their possessions increased, the land could not support both of them living together, leading to quarrels between their herders. To avoid conflict, Abram suggested they separate, offering Lot the choice of land. Lot chose the fertile plains of the Jordan Valley near Sodom, while Abram settled in the land of Canaan. Now the people of Sodom were wicked, and sinners before the Lord exceedingly. After their separation, God reaffirmed his promise to Abram, telling him to look around and declaring that all the land he saw would be given to his descendants forever. Abram moved his tents and settled near the great trees of Mamre at Hebron, where he built an altar to the Lord. Bible Chapter Lessons. Abram was the one whom God specifically called to leave his relatives to go to the Promised Land, not Lot. When the time came for God to separate the two, their livestock increased exceedingly that they had no choice but to separate. Abram then offered Lot the chance to choose land to move, and he did. However, such revealed his immaturity, for Abram was his senior and the one called by God, and as such should have made the first choice. Lot was carnally minded. He chose the best-looking, fertile land. However, it was not blessed. Abram, on the other hand, received ordinary land, but God appeared to him and encouraged him. He blessed him so that even in an ordinary land he would achieve more than someone in a fertile land. Lot's choice, which seemed the best option, had horrific consequences, as we will see in the next narrative. Genesis 14, Abram tithes to Melchizedek. A coalition of 4 kings led by Chedorlaomer attacked the cities of the plain, including Sodom and Gomorrah, and took Lot captive along with his possessions. When Abram learned of Lot's capture, he mobilized 318 trained men from his household and pursued the invaders as far as Dan. Abram and his men launched a surprise attack at night, defeating Chedorlaomer's forces and recovering all the goods, along with Lot and his people. Upon returning, Abram was greeted by Melchizedek, king of Salem and priest of God Most High, who blessed him and offered bread and wine. Abram gave Melchizedek a tenth of everything. The king of Sodom offered Abram the recovered goods, but Abram refused, insisting he would take nothing, so no one could claim to have made Abram rich, acknowledging only God's provision. Bible Chapter Lessons. Lot was obsessed by his possessions, yet he lost them in one night. He was also taken captive, for he was at the wrong place at the wrong time. If he had remained under the wings of Abram, he would not have gone through the ordeal he went through. Thankfully, Abram was a forgiving and loving and just relative. He risked all to go and carry out a suicide mission to rescue his nephew Lot. God helped Abram and gave him victory over the 4 kings that had captured Lot among other people. Even amazingly, Abram, after defeating the 4 kings, met the immortal king of Salem and priest of Most High God Melchizedek, who blessed him, and they partook of Holy Communion. Abram then paid a tenth of all, which is a tithe, to Melchizedek, the priest of the Most High God. Many Christians ask whether they should tithe or not. My answer is, if you understand God's order and biblical precedents, you would tithe. For we are children of Abraham, according to Galatians chapter 3, verse 7. Children do the deeds of their fathers, as stated in John chapter 8, verse 41. 1 Corinthians chapter 4, verses 14 to 17 says, I write not these things to shame you, but as my beloved sons I warn you. For though ye have 10,000 instructors in Christ, yet have ye not many fathers. For in Christ Jesus I have begotten you through the gospel. Wherefore I beseech you, be ye followers of me. For this cause have I sent unto you Timotheus, who is my beloved son, and faithful in the Lord, who shall bring you into remembrance of my ways which be in Christ, as I teach everywhere in every church. Abraham, our father, tithed, so should we. You tithe to the priest in your life who ministers the Holy Communion to you, just as Father Abraham tithed to the priest of God Melchizedek. Not tithing is mocking God, according to Galatians chapter 6, verses 6 to 8. Tithing is sowing into the Spirit, and it produces everlasting blessings and wealth which the devil can never stop or devour, as revealed in Malachi chapter 3, verses 10 to 12. Now let us go on to our last narrative, which is from the New Testament. In it, We learn principles which, if Lot and indeed Abram had observed, would have saved them from making unrighteous choices. Abram would not have brought Lot with him, for such is akin to giving holy things to dogs. Only Abram was called by God, yet he brought Lot with him. Lot would not have chosen to live near the plains of Sodom, for such people were wicked and exceedingly sinful before the Lord. In Matthew chapter 7, Jesus concludes the Sermon on the Mount with profound teachings on judgment, prayer, and true discipleship. He cautions against judging others harshly, reminding us to first address our own faults. He also cautions against giving holy things to dogs or precious things to pigs or hogs that will destroy them, and instead of acknowledging their error, will then attack you personally. Jesus then encourages persistence in prayer, assuring that God will provide good things to those who ask. The golden rule, treating others as we wish to be treated, encapsulates the law and the prophets. When followed, produces a blessed life. Jesus warns of the narrow gate leading to life and the wide gate leading to destruction, urging followers to choose the path of righteousness, that is, making right choices in their dealings with both God and fellow men. He speaks of false prophets, comparing them to wolves in sheep's clothing, and advises discerning their true nature by their fruits. Jesus emphasizes the importance of acting on his words, likening those who do to a wise man building his house on the rock, withstanding life's storms, in contrast to the foolish man who builds on sand, whose house collapses in adversity. Through these teachings, Jesus highlights the importance of genuine faith, moral integrity, and reliance on God's guidance.